Welcome to Bondcast, James Bondcast, the only show that dedicates itself to the critical and comical dissection of every movie in Ian Fleming's 007 film series, once a month for 24 consecutive months, where we will be discussing one James Bond film per month in chronological order, leading up to the eventual release of the 25th entry in the James Bond series, which as of this date is still unnamed. My name is Matt McGregor, and today's episode will be focused on Her Majesty's Secret Service, the sixth entry in the 007 series, and the first to have someone else play James Bond other than Sean Connery. This time out, Bond is played by Australian model George Lazenby, who famously played the role just this one time and never returned to don the Savile Row suit again. I am, of course, joined by my two Bond-obsessed co-hosts, Harris McCabe.
Hi, Matt. I would like to compliment you on all your great reading.
Wow, thanks. And also here is Colin Shaw.
That's me. Hi. I'm totally off the script. So look out.
He's reading from a script. Don't let him fool you. All right, cool. So let's get it started. What do you guys think of this movie?
That's how we're running into this thing.
Yeah, well, let's hit it from the beginning. I mean we always talk about
the movie for sure.
It's been a bit since we've done this. We've all aged rapidly.
We always
like
like to
100
open
years
up
old
with
now.
the gun barrel sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah. We watched this movie so long ago. Oh, you know what else of note? We watched this movie together. Was it this movie?
Yeah, we did. Yep.
We watched it together.
My favorite part was my favorite part was how hard we were laughing at the way Telly Savalas smokes.
It was the most tortured way of smoking.
Ridiculous smoking I've ever seen.
But if we want to jump ahead from the beginning and start with
way at the end.
Start with the gun barrel sequence. My only observation was that I was encouraged. So we've got George Lazenby coming in for the first time, and when I saw him
doing a great job.
when
Am
I
I
saw
right,
him,
Colin?
No, he's garbage.
when I saw
He
him
ruined the damn movie.
But when I saw him do the gun barrel sequence, I was like, he's kind of got Connery's like lanky grace. It was a solid, I was like, oh, this guy is sort of a good simulation of Bond.
Well, I wrote here that in the gun barrel sequence, it's definitely not George Lazenby. It's some other dude.
You don't think so?
I don't know. Now it's been so long, I don't remember.
Well, because I was under the impression, I think I read somewhere that that they originally had that stunt double doing it for the longest time, and then they switched to Connery. But then once they made that switch, it was always the guy playing Bond always did the gun barrel sequence. But I did think that there was in terms of just Lazenby in general, I thought that he had some of the physicality of Connery, in that he was tall and he was kind of graceful. And I mean, the similarities pretty much ended there. But he had that kind of. He could have been a great Connery stunt double. Let's put it that way.
I don't think he has the wrong look. I don't even think his writing or direction is bad. I just think he's not a good actor at all.
Oh well,
with
yes.
apologies to the Lazenby estate.
In fact, I think
Mr. Lazenby himself. But
I think the reality is
you ruined
that
the movie for me.
He was not an actor. He was a model. I don't think he had any.
Colin,
you ruined it. For
I
me.
have to completely disagree with you. I think George Lazenby, is it Lazenby or Lazenby? I'm going to say both throughout this.
Let's
I
just
always
mix
said
it up.
Lazenby.
Lazenby.
I'm going to say
I even
Lazenby.
prefer overpronouncing it. Lazenby.
Lazenby.
I'm going to call
I think
it
he's
Lazenby.
great, and I think so the story is, I think they offered him 7 more Bond movies after this, and he completely turned it down.
Did he turn it down? Because I read that he was actually he went away to celebrate and took a cruise and just was unavailable, and then Connery said, "I'll come back," and they were like, "Oh yeah, never mind."
I read that during production he said he didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I actually watched. There's a documentary on Hulu called I think it's called Becoming Bond, and it's all about his story. And I mean, the way they paint it in that movie is that he just kind of had a change of heart, and he didn't want to live the Hollywood life, and he just
because when this came out, this was a successful movie. It was it wasn't like a bomb, and everyone wasn't like, oh, I got to watch this turd with Lazenby in it. It was like, oh, we got a new James Bond, and he's pretty good. We'll see what happens.
And I think historically, it's considered one of the better movies.
Well, this is what, and we'll talk about this more. But I went into this with an open mind because I had heard from so many other sources, oh, this is like a totally underrated movie, and it's like so and so's favorite, and so all these famous people who love Bond are like,
Christopher
my favorite
Nolan. I read it was his.
Yeah, a lot of people
he loves it. Yeah.
Love this movie, and so I had high expectations. Let's talk about the cold open and just start getting into this.
Yeah, let's just get into the meat of this thing. So the cold open, I thought was pretty good as far as cold opens go.
That's when she tries to commit suicide.
Yeah, so Bond is driving.
I've got some thoughts. Go ahead.
Yeah, Bond's driving. And I think he's just following. He how does he see her?
He's driving. Okay, so he's driving his car, and they purposefully are withholding his face. They're showing him lighting a cigarette. They're showing all these other things, but they won't show his face full on. And he gets randomly passed by some woman who's maniacally speeding down the road, which doesn't make any freaking sense because she's on her way to commit suicide. But she can't wait even for the car in front of her to go a reasonable speed. She's got to go
that makes sense to me. It's like it's a manic state. She goes from manic to depressive, and then she's done with it.
So she's manic, and she's like, "Oh, I've got to drive really fast." And then she's depressive, and she's like, "Oh, on second thought, I'll just kill myself."
Right? Yeah, manic depressive.
Okay, got it. All right.
When people want to kill themselves, they want to do it quick.
So Colin's got a theory. I feel like she would have been a little more melancholy if she was planning on wading into the ocean to drown. But everyone can have their own opinion.
In my professional medical opinion, she was in a manic depressive state with a violent mood swing that took her from the manic phase into killing herself.
So Bond sees her on the beach.
Don't some henchmen come out of?
No, yeah. So Bond sees her on the beach. He decides he's going to pull over because he's like, oh, hot chick in the water, and then he's like, oh no, she's going to drown herself. Mm-hmm. So he leaps from his car.
How does he know this?
To save
She's
her.
walking into the water with clothes on
the beach.
Yeah.
So, she's not going for a clothed swim. He's convinced. And then these henchmen show up, and are they there to kill Bond? Are they there to save her? Are they who knows why they're there? They're mostly there to have an exciting cold open, I think.
Yes.
And they attack Bond.
They're wearing classic henchmen garb, the same clothes.
Yeah.
One color shirt.
One color shirt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then she runs off and decides not to kill herself after all while he's fighting the fight scene is the usual Bond fight scene where they ramp up the speed
and the editing.
Oh yeah,
right?
times a million. Except they also have a lot of this was interesting in this because this persisted throughout the movies. They had they threw in a 1970s style snap zoom. In here at the beginning, which was really kind of an editing, a weird filmmaking choice that we hadn't seen. The Bond franchise had been fairly conventional, but you could see it sort of evolving with the times.
Yeah.
And it had a lot of that. It had some slow-mo and some jump cuts and some bizarre framing.
There's a lot of new things in this movie.
Well, it is from 1969, and the 70s were the time for new stuff.
Yeah, but it's who do you think you are, D.D. Allen here? You're not reinventing the. I don't know. You saw a lot of those new pioneering techniques, but I think they were misused a lot of times here.
Well, what was the movie before that really used that choppy editing and speeding up fight scenes? Oh, Thunderball.
The
right?
speeding up fight scenes.
But Thunderball was the big culprit, the final
But
they've
been speeding up fight scenes from the beginning. That's just how they were trying to make it. But I mean, and then it ends with the whole scene ends with after he's thwarted these two guys.
He breaks the fourth wall.
He breaks the fourth wall. He looks right at the camera and he says, "This never happens to the other fella."
Oh yeah, which I think sucks.
So
by the way,
I would just like to, and this is going to tip my hand about how
he's breaking the fourth wall and he's talking about the other actor. We know you're not the same actor.
We
know.
I can kind of get I get what they were thinking here because it's everyone knows it, so why not just get it out there and get it out in the cold open and address it.
Don't treat me like that as an audience.
It works
you don't treat me this way.
It works because he could be talking about the last spy, 006. Oh, this never happened to 006, So it works.
It cop out.
It works on two levels.
It does not.
It works on two levels.
Or it doesn't work on any level. I will say that this is going to tip my hand to how I feel about this movie. But this opening sequence epitomizes all the things I disliked about that film. You've got a totally nonsensical plot that just crams in action haphazardly. You've got the flashy 70s era editing, but it doesn't make as much sense as when it's actually used effectively by other filmmakers, and the cheesy self-referential humor, which eventually will, when Roger Moore comes in, I think hurt the franchise. Not that we've watched any of those movies ever, but but that was sort of the cold open. I was just okay, 2 thumbs down, and I hope the movie can recover from this. And then we get to our main title song. Also terrible.
Terrible. What song? That's what I have to say.
I can't even remember it at all.
I think I wrote here. It's just Bond music from previous movies. It's I'm sure this theme has a name, a proper name. it's just like the love theme or something.
It's at best a mediocre theme song. It's like passable, and it's sort of like a melange of other stuff that we've seen. And then it's the half-assed silhouettes on color backdrops, and then shots from previous movies,
which is like the biggest.
Which they also use in the movie, right? Or no, they use the props from previous movies.
Do they?
You don't remember that scene?
Which scene?
When he goes back after the opening titles, he goes back to he gets fired by M because he only wants to hunt Blofeld, and then he goes to his office and he has a bunch of props from the other movies, which he would never have. Including the belt that got irradiated in Dr. No.
Oh yeah, and the the garrote, the watch garrote that the other guy had in From Russia with Love, which he never even had. Yeah, it's yes. So, anybody got anything else about this? Anyone want to defend the title sequence? Because this is a famous part of these movies, and they'd been doing it long enough that this was an established thing that they nailed these title sequences.
Were they just rushing this movie out and they just said, like, screw it? The other thing is that there is a song later on in this movie that they play. I think it's like on the radio or something, or maybe it plays over the credits at the end. It's been so long since I've watched this movie, I don't remember. Yeah,
right.
I might have
No, there's a song, but they don't play it in the titles, right?
Yeah, no, there's the Louis Armstrong,
in the
world. The Louis Armstrong song, which isn't a bad Louis Armstrong song, but it's a terrible Bond song, and they knew that it was so bad as a Bond song that they couldn't use it in the opening titles.
I guess so.
It's actually a catchy song, but it sounds like he does a lot of nice songs. He does La Vie en Rose. He does a lot of great. Louis Armstrong's a very excellent musician, but this was not a Bond song as we had already at this point established them to be. So they did exactly what they did in From Russia with Love, which is sort of bury it later in the movie.
Yeah. I think this is the last time that this happens, right?
Let's just take a second. I just want to know what you guys... let's get into the Lazenby thing. Let's just address it. We've seen the movie. We have opinions on Lazenby. Matt, you think he's okay.
I'll tell you what I wrote. I wrote George Lazenby.
I've already heard you read enough. Come on.
I wrote, very good so far, cool voice, good actor, exclamation point.
Why would you write that?
I held my mic up just so I could laugh louder into that. Okay.
Cool voice. I think that's really all that matters here.
To me, what he's doing is like less acting and more like just behaving as like some kind of contest winner who won the like Be Bond for a Day contest.
That's basically what he is.
Yeah. Well, he was not an actor. What I thought was that physically, I think he would have made an excellent Bond.
Had he continued, I think he would have grown into the role.
He was big. He was graceful. Yeah. He was strong. He had
his accent wasn't as good though because he was Australian.
But he had that. I thought he had a pretty good Australian accent, considering he was sort of mimicking the Connery.
He's not supposed to have an Australian accent.
No. I thought he had a pretty good, considering he was Australian. I think he had a pretty good like mimic of Connery's.
I thought he sounded like Roger Moore,
half Scottish.
Like when they casted Roger Moore, they sort of were like, "Oh, let's get a guy more like Lazenby."
Roger Moore is like more like Southern, like English accent than. Like Connery is the North.
Connery is super Scottish. And I think I felt like Lazenby was trying to like emulate some of that, and he was, considering he was Australian, he didn't sound Australian to me. So that I would give him props for that.
But that's you can't give him props for that. Just because he doesn't sound Australian, but he doesn't also sound good, doesn't mean he sounded good.
That's a good point. I will say he had like you saw it right away that he had confidence and he had like a little bit of charisma. Like you could see how in the real world people were probably like
blown away.
He probably blew them away in the room.
They were like, wow. When they let the person shoot from half court at halftime and then they make it. They look confident after they do that.
Exactly. And this is seeing him walk onto this movie set is seeing a guy who just hit that half court shot and then was like and could hold his hands up at
$12,000.
But now people are like, hey, hit a bunch more, and he's like, oh shit. The truth is, he isn't an actor.
Analogy.
He isn't an actor, and you could see that, and that's the difference between him and Connery. He had all the physical tools. I think he had all the charisma and the charm. And he just wasn't. He just didn't have the acting chops, and it showed. And you know what else didn't help? I also read that. So Peter Hunt was the first-time director. If you'll recall from our previous podcast, we mentioned that he was an editor on several Bond movies. He wanted to direct the last movie. They wouldn't let him. They ended up getting into trouble when they were editing it. It was a mess. So they brought him in to fix it in the edit room. And his deal was, I'll fix it, but I get to direct the next one.
Right.
So this is his first time behind the camera directing, and apparently he decided that the best way to treat Lazenby, this first-time actor that had no experience, was to ignore him entirely and isolate him from the cast and crew. And that was like his strategy to get him in the right mindset of Bond, who's like this lone wolf type of guy, which if you're a first-time actor who doesn't know what he's doing and who's probably just realizing that he's in over his head, I kind of wonder if Lazenby wouldn't have been better if he had a director who was more of an actor's director who like was willing to hold his hand and gave him a little direction. So I'm curious if that didn't factor into this performance a little bit.
Let's move on to the girls. There's one girl in this movie.
No.
I'm sure
there's also
there's more than
the
one.
femme fatale, like
The
brainwash
angels,
victims.
Yeah.
The angels of death.
If there was one girl in a James Bond movie, I think that would be the end of the franchise. They'd just be like, you guys have lost
There's
us.
one.
I think this
main
one's
girl.
really good because Diana Rigg is really good, and then the angels of death are like actually diverse. You know what I mean? They're literally from all corners of the world.
Yep.
I mean, they focus on the British one a little more, but there's diversity.
The one girl's American, right? The one with the curly hair, or is she British?
No, she was British. This girl right here.
Yeah, she was British.
I pulled up a photo because I think we have mixed opinions on
Her hair bothered me.
Yeah, her hair's great. I like it.
It looks nice in that picture you just pulled up, but she had it looked like they just took a scissor and just cut the back. She had like something weird going on in the back. I don't know if you could try and pull that up. You can't really see it in that picture.
I'm gonna Google that.
Also, this is a podcast, so nobody can see this.
Oh,
This is
well,
important. This
we'll
is the most
describe
important
it
part
at
of the
length.
podcast.
Do we know her name at least? Can we at least
Ruby.
name check her?
Her Angela Scular. Angela
Her
Scular.
real name? No one cares about her real
Well,
name.
anyways, so our main Bond girl is Diana Rigg, though.
Yeah,
who
Diana
we all
Rigg.
know from Game of Thrones as what's her name? What's her
Lady
name?
Tyrell.
Lady
Tyrell.
Yep.
The
And she's
old-
also,
old lady.
Emma Peel.
She's Emma Peel from the Avengers TV series.
The British TV
She replaced Honor Blackman on the Avengers, who of course
Was also a Bond girl.
was
right?
a Bond girl named Pussy Galore in Goldfinger.
And she was
but
also in the
also-
Great Muppet Caper, which I
Yes.
just watched the other day.
Yeah.
I saw Diana
Which
Rigg. I was
sounds
like, "What up,
fantastic.
girl?"
Just because of her. And
And all the
prompted
Muppets
a
loved her.
discussion about the
And we were talking about Muppet genitals
yeah.
earlier. before
So
the
like
podcast.
I mean, obviously the Muppets have some sort of attraction to Diana Rigg. We want to know how that works chemically. Does it have to do with their Muppet genitals?
What Colin is asking is, do Muppets get boners? And
They can ride bikes. I know that from watching this movie.
I don't know what that has to do with erections, but I'm just gonna go with it. It's worth pointing out that Emma Peel was already because of her role in the Avengers, where she wore these sort of
Skin tight.
tight jumpsuits. She was already kind of a sex symbol. So that makes her a little. I mean, a lot of the Bond girls had some history and were notable in some way, but she was. I think I don't know
One of the more
historically
famous
context, but I think she was one of the more famous sex symbols as a Bond girl.
I think also at this point, and I think we kind of touched on this last time, that spy culture is becoming huge in the late 60s. Like James Bond kind of set off this like spy bomb. Like everything is spy related on TV and in movies. And so the Avengers is something that already exists clearly, and they cast her to bring her into this movie because of that.
Yeah.
So I think you're probably right that she probably brought some sort of fan base with her.
And they had tried once before to integrate some of these TV show characters into the Bond franchise, but this was sort of their other way of going around about it. It was to sort of bring in one of the actors from that thing.
Yeah, but I mean, since
She's good in the role too.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she's
she was
great in
excellent.
Game of Thrones.
she's
Yep.
great.
She's a good
She's
actress.
got like a really like distinctive way about her that's very memorable.
And this is also okay. So are we going to get into the whole like this is the one where Bond gets married thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, like she's the one.
So I mean, just quickly, like she starts off. She's the daughter of this like crime boss.
Yeah,
kind of
crime
guy?
boss. Italian crime
Italian
boss.
syndicate
Yep.
boss.
Yeah, and
But they're in Portugal when they go.
Should we do the plot now? Should we just try to
well,
get
let's
through?
quickly just sort of like touch upon these elements of the plot that like can help us better explain
important.
like
her
arc.
Her arc?
Right.
All right.
Yeah. So she wants to kill herself because
Why does she want to kill herself?
she's really rich and crime, I guess.
Yeah, I think she had a well. Okay, I think they delve into her history a little bit. That she had a checkered past, and she had like a bunch of like a bad relationship. She was married once before, and it didn't go well. And so it's like a combination of like she's like a
it's probably
a sullied woman, and
right. She had a bad relationship, and then she's like, okay, well, I'm like this crime boss's daughter, and like that's not relatable.
Who
to
will
anyone
want me
else.
now?
Yeah.
I'm just gorgeous and rich.
Yeah, but no, like
who would have me?
but it makes it hard for her to relate to someone like. It's not just like every guy off the street is like looking for specifically that.
And
besides
also,
the fact that she is
and also
rich.
her father is a little overprotective, has
Intimidating,
bodyguards
right?
like
Yeah.
thugs following her around.
He's not
all
just
the
a
time.
rich father; he's a rich father with like killer people
but
on the payroll.
But he's concerned about her, and he's concerned about her and her depression and her well-being, and that's why he actually encourages James Bond. He's like
He offers him money to marry her, right?
Yeah.
She needs a good stupping, and
a scene that would be less awkward if
and a guy
Lazenby could act.
right.
I'm so sorry.
But he feels that she needs a guy to help her, settle down and get back on the horse, so to speak. And George Lazenby is that guy, that big-eared goony guy.
So
Just wanted to say
just
get back on the
quickly explaining her arc. She's there in the beginning. They're kind of getting along. It's great. And then he goes off on his adventure in the Swiss Alps. She disappears for a while. He has this crazy chase down the mountain.
You're leaving stuff out. Okay.
We're getting really into the plot here.
In the scene with the father, the father's like, "I'll give you money to marry her," and he's like, "No, I'm not about that. I want to catch Blofeld. You can tell me where Blofeld is, and I'll still like try to do this thing." And then that's when they start like the courtship. And, and then, of course, the guy finds out where Blofeld is, and that's when he goes to Switzerland. Because he says, I know a Swiss law firm that has some kind of contact with them. So then he goes and investigates the law firm. He finds out Blofeld is in contact with the coat of arms guys, whatever they're called.
Oh, the
British
Beauchamp or
genealogists.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
British
they're the-
genealogists, yeah. And then he poses as the British genealogist.
Because Blofeld's trying to steal a British title.
He wants to be the Count de Beauchamp.
Yeah, he's trying to impersonate.
And he wears that big coat that like covers his, like you can't see his arms. You know what I'm talking about? And the reason that happened is because he broke his arm on the set, and he had a cast on.
Who
Did you
broke
know
his
that?
arm?
Lazenby.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when he's posing.
because he did a stunt, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is, she disappears for half the movie, and then at the end, when he's in this epic chase, she comes out of
Shows up out of
nowhere.
nowhere.
That's not even the end, though, because that's like a big
That's like
chunk of
the-
the middle,
that's
because that
honestly, that's like
chase
the
is
halfway
like
point.
Very
a
long.
30-minute long chase scene with little interruptions for them to roll around in the barn and him to see her ice skating. And
So you want Colin already did the beginning of the plot. Let's just jump in and say that, like,
Yeah, just do it.
when he goes into Blofeld's place, which is Blofeld has this fake allergy research institute, but it's really just a front for him brainwashing beautiful young women to be carriers of biological toxins and basically assassins. So he's hypnotizing them.
they're not assassins. They're going to destroy the world's crops.
Going to destroy the world's crops by
for
carrying biological
destroy the world's
agents.
food supply.
Right.
Decimating the population.
So he's brainwashing them and hypnotizing them under the guise of allergy research.
Which I remember when we were watching this, you guys were like, this plan is really lame. And I'm like, no, it could be a cool, intimidating plan. It's just like the way it comes across is really stupid.
Because it's
it doesn't make
cartoony.
sense. Yeah, it's
and
cartoony.
idiotic. Yeah.
Well, I think I had said, I can't remember if I said it on the last episode or to you guys in person, but like I get a kick out of how between like whatever time has passed from one movie to the next, like Blofeld has devised this like plan that seems like he's been planning it for
take his
years.
whole life.
Yeah, it would take his whole life.
To me, it's a scary plan, but it's not scary the way you see it in the movie.
And also the him trying to become a British gain a British title has nothing to do with any of this plan.
Why does
It's
he
just
want
this
that?
Totally secondary thing, which basically is the way Bond gets access to his place.
Yeah.
Now Blofeld figures out when Bond shows up posing as his genealogist, who is like this dandy kind of
Sir Hillary.
Sir Hillary, whatever. He's looking. He's trying to look like a wimp. He wears a kilt. So Blofeld immediately figures out who he is. Of course,
right.
all the women that are there suffering from allergies want to bang him.
Sexy
and
allergies.
With
sexy,
the girl with the weird short hair and the circle glasses.
They're allergic to everything but boning, and so Blofeld, of course, figures out who Bond is because, by the way, they've met before. So he decides
when he had a huge facial scar that has suddenly disappeared.
the facial
Right.
scars.
And he's played by a completely different actor.
With a totally different accent. He doesn't have the weird accent anymore. Now he sounds like he's an American, which is unexplained.
They meet in this movie as if they're meeting for the first time, and it's completely unaddressed that they had a whole encounter in the previous movie.
Absolutely.
Right.
And maybe
In
the
the movie
fact that
right
they,
before.
maybe the fact that they both have completely different faces is why they just didn't bother to address it.
Yeah.
But of course, Blofeld captures
nobody
him.
smokes like Blofeld. He holds
Oh, let's get to that.
he holds the cigarette like he's chastising you with like a small golf pencil. You know, like he's like waving a golf pencil at you to tell you you've done something wrong. But that's how he's smoking. So then he brings it to his mouth in like a weird sensual way.
Right. It's like,
It's
how
like,
would you
okay,
describe
thumb
this?
and forefinger, but like take your hand straight forward so that your fingers point away from you. Then curl your index finger into your thumb, and then imagine the cigarette is like pointed straight up in the air with the bottom coming out of your thumb, and then you put that in your mouth.
Okay, so how about this? How about if I just say, pretend that you were going to place a golf ball on a golf tee and then lay down on the ground and place that golf tee in your mouth so somebody could hit it off of you? That is how he smokes his
That's how he's
cigarettes.
smoking
It's
his
totally
cigarette
bizarre.
without
It's
laying
the
down on the
strangest
ground.
thing.
And keeping the top point of the cherry of the cigarette always pointed as much up towards the sky as you can, even when you're smoking it.
Beyond the bizarre smoking thing, can we say anything else about Telly Savalas? Because Telly Savalas wasn't Kojak yet. He was just this American actor he was Pontius Pilate in The Greatest Story Ever Told, and he'd been Maggot in The Dirty Dozens, which is pretty memorable. But he was a very American actor, and he was replacing Donald Pleasance, who had done this very weird Scarface, weird accent Blofeld.
Yeah. That was a good Blofeld in my
just
opinion.
I would have
thoughts
liked
on-
to see that Blofeld continue.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one, of course, like Austin Powers made
Yeah.
it famous, you know. That's what we think of when we think of Blofeld. But it's funny, that character version of him only exists in like, you know, a few minutes at the end of that one. What movie was that?
You
You Only Live Twice.
And he has a henchwoman here who is
Irma Bunt.
Irma Bunt.
Almost the same as the ones we've seen before.
Exactly.
Yes.
Who is the one
older
from
German woman
from Russia with Love?
She had a very similar
Kleb.
name. Rosa Klebb.
Rosa Klebb,
That's it.
yep.
Yeah.
And she's actually just kind of a chaperone for these girls that are, human biological bombs until the very end. And she
Bombshells.
actually manages to survive this film and is never brought to justice and could still be out there today.
Whoa.
Yeah, she's on the
Don't
list.
scare us.
But most of the villains in this film are just sort of cannon fodder for Bond. There's no one really memorable, and the only reason any of them are threatening is because there's a lot of them. Like random henchmen just pop out of the woodwork when he needs them.
Yeah. I think this is a good Blofeld, though, just because he's so weird.
I think that aside from the smoking, is he? He sounds.
He's still kinda weird.
What's weird is like his motives and his plan.
He's jolly.
And the fact that he's American, but he's supposed to be not
But
American.
isn't he kind of jolly?
He is
which
pretty
is
jolly,
weird, right?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill everyone. I'm so excited about
He
it.
is just as stupid as the other Blofeld, though, because when he does catch Bond, as the other Blofeld did, he doesn't just murder him. He throws him in a room.
Puts him in a room with an open wall.
And it's not even a room. He doesn't stick him in a room. It's not like you think with his fortress here, he would have like one room that's dedicated, that doesn't have any other doors. That
Yeah.
would be like, you could lock him in a closet. But
Yeah.
instead, he puts him into a room where the gears for the tram that brings people up and down the mountains are.
Gondola.
The
Gondola,
gondola.
yeah.
So he puts him in the room.
Because we forgot to mention that they're at the top of a mountain in
They're
like
at the top of. We mentioned that they were in Switzerland.
you have to
We
take a
forgot
ski
mention
lift
that they were
kind
at
of,
the top the
gondola
mountain.
Yeah,
thing.
you got to
up
take
there,
the
yeah.
gondola up there.
So of course, as soon as he locks Bond up in this,
They're above like a winter sports Swiss town.
yeah, he locks Bond up, and Bond immediately climbs out the very
gears.
big
But
opening.
literally, it's not a window. It's like an opening in the wall,
Yeah.
bigger than the size of a human being.
and it's ridiculous. And then he escapes, and he ventures down to the village, and the henchmen are in hot pursuit, and we get some fun skiing scenes.
But this takes forever. Him getting out of the little room with the hole in it is like a 15-minute scene because the gondola has to like start coming at him, and he has to start over.
Oh yeah.
He does something we don't need to see him do.
Doesn't he put his shoes on his
start over?
Doesn't he put his shoes on his hands?
No, he rips out his pockets, the insides of his pockets,
so he doesn't get hurt. His hands
right.
hurt.
It's a sequence that should take like 3 minutes.
Then
tops.
he skis for 20 minutes, and half the time he skis, you see just him in front of a green screen looking over his shoulder.
Is this the first skiing scene we've seen in a Bond movie? Have we done this yet? Because it becomes kind of a Roger Moore skis.
Yeah.
They
Cliche,
it becomes a big thing. But I think this is the first time when we see a lot of like skiing stunts.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty cool. I mean, aside from that it's
James Bond can ski.
It's intercut
this
with
guy can fucking ski.
He is a snow bunny.
This is one of those things. Like when I was young, when I always used to watch it, I always used to imagine like James Bond in the spy school with the other spies, and they start testing him on all the aptitude for all the different random ass things he could possibly have an aptitude in, and he just keeps like succeeding wildly.
I picture them with blindfolds on, and they're all sipping wine, and he's like, "This is a cognac, 1937, whatever." You know.
Yeah, but I
James
imagine
Bond
them like
knows.
they're like the other guys. They're shooting pretty good. They're running pretty good, and then they put him out on the mountain, and then they watch him ski down.
He's like
a
skiing.
slalom
He's
champion.
skiing backwards and shooting targets as he goes. And like, shit, this guy's pretty
And
good.
they're just like, what the fuck?
I always, whenever I see these things, I'm always like, my God, what if I ended up in a situation where I had to ski for my life and all I could do is a snowplow thing where I'm doing like
French fried pizza?
the little pizza wedge. Yeah.
French fried pizza.
I'm going down the Black Diamond slope with people in hot
looks
pursuit.
like he
and I'm
French
pizza
fried when he
wedging.
should have pizza.
Well,
You're gonna have a bad time.
It's interesting because my dad was in the Special Forces, and in the Special Forces, he learned to ski.
Whoa, is
And
your
he-
dad
and he-
James Bond?
And he learned to rock climb and
Yeah.
rappel and stuff like that because they actually do like some of these. They do train these people in these things. I don't know if they train them to like stunt ski like Bond does in this movie. It's pretty amazing though.
Yeah.
What about bobsled?
I don't think.
he drives a bobsled.
I think we got the next big Bond action sequence for the next movie. We should.
Like, how many months would it take for a full winter sports training for a special forces guy?
Just in case, just in
It's
case.
like
You
someone
never know.
watched the Winter Olympics and
Yeah,
they were like,
exactly.
"We need to put Bond in
Because
this."
there's all of it. There's ice
This is
skating.
awesome, but
Oh,
we need more
also,
curling.
There's a freaking demolition derby on snow or whatever. Remember
Yeah.
the
Oh,
chase
yeah.
scene goes on for an hour.
That was
so
amazing.
That's part of it.
I mean, I think those winter sports in this are kind of, and they do have a curling scene.
Yeah.
they
That's
literally
right, they
fit
do.
curling in this
There's
movie.
ice skating, curling.
I think this movie was
skiing.
sponsored by the
yeah,
the
there's like
Olympics.
ski jumping. There's luge and
Maybe,
moguls and
maybe whatever Swiss town it was is like, we're gonna like put our bid for the Olympics. We'll get it all on film by sponsoring this movie.
Hold up, guys. I think this is a good time to mention that our normal engineer, C-Rock, is he's out sick today, and he'll be out for next episode too. Taking his place is our lovely friend Zach, otherwise known as Control Z. How you doing, Zach?
He's giving us a
giving us
thumbs
the
up.
thumbs up. Or,
Hey, Zach, I got a question. Have you seen this movie?
No.
You're supposed to say hell no because that's kind of like
right? Yeah, you have to say hell no.
I'll give you another shot. Zach, have you seen this movie?
Hell no.
See,
So-
that's more like what we're used
But
to.
in general, big James Bond fan?
Not at all.
Are
All
you
right,
following what we're talking about at all? A little bit. And I'd like to say that his little bit was more than an inch between his finger and thumb, so it may
Feels
be
like a
more
lot.
than a little bit.
Yeah.
He
Zach.
may be saying a lot of it with his.
Zach, did you
his heart.
appreciate our or Colin's lovely description of how Blofeld smoked a cigarette? Do you ever smoke like that? It's like pointed up like this. I wish we had something that you could like. Do we have a pen or something
Yeah.
over there?
It is kind of amazing.
It's weird.
Here, Colin, you do it. I feel like you'll nail it.
And everyone in
Yeah.
So yes, Colin is
He
currently
smokes like this several times in
Oh
the
my
movie.
God.
It's really weird.
It's bizarre. Just I feel like there should be we should have this on YouTube somewhere of Donald Pleasance smoking as Blofeld.
No, it's Savalas. not
Oh
Pleasant.
yeah, right. Telly Savalas.
All right, let's get back to the plot quickly, and then we'll sum up the twist ending.
So Bond escapes skiing down the mountain. He gets to the bottom, and then he finds himself trapped by the henchmen. And then, luckily, who shows up but his girlfriend Tracy, who
Somehow knew
why isn't
exactly where he was.
Why is she even here? The last time he saw her, she was in
She's
Italy or
awesome.
something.
She's like, hey, I think something might be going on. I'm gonna follow him.
And by the way, I would have thought like, oh, hey, maybe she's in on it. Maybe there's some other. Nope. It's
No,
she just happens to
not
be
her.
vacationing in Switzerland. She sees him running from bad guys and escapes. That's when they get into this awesome car chase that busts randomly. They're being chased by the bad guys. She's in a car. He's in a car, and
Yeah.
they bust into a a demolition derby on ice.
Or it's like some kind of like
like
rally
a rally
race,
race.
snow rally car.
It's like
or
NASCAR,
something.
but they're
On
in like
snow.
minis and they're on ice and they're just sliding around and crashing.
And
into
the
each
track's
other.
not very long either, so they do have to crash into each other. But it is a race, so it's not just crashing into.
It's
each
not
other.
a demolition derby.
Demolition Derby
No,
has
'cause
no
that's like
finish
just
line.
I guess
they
that's-
just run into.
Yeah,
each
I guess
other.
that's just
this
they just
has
try
a
to
finish
demolish
line,
each
like
other.
a start and a finish.
This is a race of some kind. It is bizarre and it was fun. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
It would have been cool if it wasn't part of a chase sequence that like
Lasts
never
for
ends.
hours.
Because he escapes the hole in the wall, which took too long. Then he skis, which takes a really long time. Then he's running around in the town and goes into like little rooms and stuff, and they're chasing him through that. And then he like goes and decides to sulk by the ice skating rink, and he's like about to cry or something. And then
And that's when he
Homegirl shows
sees
up
her.
looking all like with the glow. She's like, oh. And then he's like, oh yeah, let's go get in the car and like run away some more. And then they chase him some more
Into
and
the
then he
derby.
like tries to go to a phone or something, and then they chase him some more in the cars.
But they
and
finally
then
end
they
up.
get into
They
the
finally end up
racetrack.
escaping, and they end up in a barn where something very unexpected happens.
Yeah,
They bone.
Well, no, that is like
he
the
said-
most.
James
expected
Bond says, "I
thing.
love you,"
and he proposes.
He proposes.
marriage.
Wow.
Yes.
After all that, I would too.
Yeah. After that 8-day chase sequence. But
I can't say. I'm pretty sure that sequence was longer than my life. So
in the morning, they are caught in an avalanche that Blofeld created, and Tracy's captured.
after more ski chasing,
After more ski chasing, and Tracy, the girlfriend, is captured. The fiance now is captured, and Bond tells M that they can't attack Blofeld. And then M's because he's got Tracy hostage and he's holding the world for ransom and blah 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 blah. So M says that the world's just going to pay the ransom.
I thought he did want to attack, and M was like, it's too dangerous." Because he does, because he convinces the dad to attack.
M is saying that they can't attack because they have to pay the ransom, and Bond's like, no, we're gonna attack. So he gets the gangster dad to get a bunch of attack choppers,
which is
together.
another scene that takes way too long. Remember
yeah.
the radio thing?
Oh my God.
Do you have notes on that?
Oh, no, I don't
Because I
have
remember
notes on-
us laughing so
on
hard about
how
that.
long that radio scene takes.
Because they're radioing the guy. He's like, "We're with the Red Cross. We're just going to like Geneva or whatever." And
Yeah,
they're
so
like,
the-
we don't have you on the charts. And then this conversation goes back and forth for a full 10 minutes.
They have these attack.
Like, we don't have you on the charts. No,
attack
we're with the Red
choppers
Cross. It's fine.
Are,
We don't
are,
have you.
are heading for Blofeld's. They're heading for Blofeld's lair, and they're attack choppers, but they're disguised as Red Cross aid choppers.
Yeah.
And they have this long exchange where Blofeld's guys are like, "We're gonna shoot you out of the sky," and they're like, "No, don't, because we're just aid people." But they're lying.
Literally over and over. We're Red Cross. No, you're not. We're Red Cross. No, you're not. We're Red Cross. No, you're not.
Long story short, Bond rescues Tracy. Draco's people rescue Tracy. Bond escapes before the hideout explodes, inevitably, as they all do.
Yeah.
And Blofeld seems like he's going to be killed.
This is when we get the bobsled chase. Right?
Yeah, we got
Yeah,
we got
I've
this.
been waiting for the bobsled.
We got
part.
this.
so
So at the
He's
end
got
of the,
that Texas Longhorns bobsled.
so just in case you thought we were kidding before about how this works in so many winter sports, is there's actually a bobsled chase. Literally, Blofeld escapes from his exploding lair in a bobsled, and Bond sees him doing this and is like,
grabs another
bobsled
bobsled.
and takes off
As
after
you
him.
would.
As you would. Catches up with him, throws him out of his bobsled, throws Blofeld
No,
out of...
I thought he ran into a tree
Yeah,
that
he,
grabbed him by the neck.
throws him
Yeah.
out of the bobsled, and Blofeld is basically like, runs into like the branch of a tree and gets his neck caught and apparently appears to be dead, leaving us to go to Bond and Tracy's wedding many months later, where they become happily married and they ride off into the sunset to live happily ever after.
only to get shot at from a nearby
You
hill.
Yeah.
really didn't tease that at all.
Yeah,
you
I
just
know.
like dropped it really bad.
So they decided to take some of so they're driving through
I'm
like
trying to move this thing along.
Tracy gets killed.
driving through the hills.
Come on, let's go. Tracy gets
and
killed.
they pulled the car over, and Irma Bunt and Blofeld drive by just randomly. They're just like in the neighborhood. Blofeld's got a big neck brace on, and they machine gun Bond and Tracy. And Bond is like hops into the car. He's like, "That's Blofeld. Let's go kill that motherfucker." And then he looks over, and Tracy is
She's
dead.
full on dead.
And Bond weeps
Yes.
on
The
camera.
only
He
time
is so moved.
ever.
And the policeman comes and he's like, "Are you guys okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, we'll be fine. We're gonna move on here in a little bit." No clever quips or anything. He's very sad.
He says,
No,
we
he's
we
like
have all the time
delusional.
in the
He's like,
world.
we'll
he's
be,
like,
we've got all the time in the
time
world. We're fine.
It just needed a little.
But he's weeping.
Yeah.
It would have been a really moving scene if,
yeah.
Lazenby could act.
Oh god.
Sorry.
So I think this movie,
Keep
for what
just-
it's worth, had a lot of firsts. They tried a lot of new things.
Oh, that scene
Tried
we
a lot
just
of-
talked about though is so like like in James Bond we see huge layers blow up and like giant, like in all the movies you see like, technology you've never seen before, weapons, vehicles you've never seen before, and literally they just like roll by in like an old Mercedes
just
and shoot with like a
Easily
regular
dispatched.
gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that some of the things is. I think one of the interesting things that I thought was cool was like the ski stunts, the stock car race and ice. There's bullfight footage. That's pretty cool. And
How much time are we at?
35 minutes.
Oh, really? See, we're doing good.
you were burning it up.
Yeah, we've still got 6 hours to go.
Let's go.
No, the bullfight scene was cool. Like all the travelogue stuff, as usual, was pretty cool. But they stick to a lot of the weird winter sports tie-in.
I would want
I
to
thought was
visit this
totally
Swiss town. To be
bizarre.
honest.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think the James Bond movies try to like show you places. They're trying to build tourism for places. You know, that's why he's sort of a globe.
Just the plot in general, though. Blofeld's plan. This is like particularly dumb, even for a Bond movie.
Well, like
just
I was
felt
saying, it's like a scary plan on paper. Like when I was reading the description of the plan in Wikipedia, I was like, "This sounds scary." But when I remembered watching the movie, I was like, "This guy's ridiculous smoking," and I'm not sure it makes sense what he's talking about
But
either.
also, he allows it to be derailed by his pursuit of like some British title that's
Count
that
de Bluchamp.
doesn't- Yeah, Count de Bluchamp.
I just love that Blofeld is an expert in all things like bad guy. You know,
Nefarious.
nefarious.
Nefarious,
yeah.
he's down.
Like the last movie was all about what, like dismantling rockets, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
controlling
Right, yeah,
the
yeah.
rockets, right?
Yeah.
Like he knows all about that. Now it's all about
Rocketry to biological warfare.
Although
biological warfare.
I feel like he's got all the like he's a very detail oriented guy, but he's not a great bigger picture strategy guy. He seems to just do a lot of dumb shit to that shoots him in the foot in the end.
Yeah.
Well, and there's always that classic inability to like kill your enemy.
Just yes, yeah,
Like, even though you're evil.
yeah. He appreciates the back and forth. He likes a little cat and mouse a little too much. And also, I just want to point some out because we haven't mentioned this. Let's pour some out for the random blonde guy who, like so many Bond sidekicks
Yeah.
before him,
Big blonde guy.
pops up.
Oh, no,
and
the sidekick guy.
The sidekick
Yeah.
guy, the little blonde guy, the little blonde backpacker British guy who helps Bond out in numerous ways.
He gets
and that is
hanged or something, right? How do they-
unceremoniously like lynched and hung from a
Lynched,
mountaintop, and will not be appearing in the sequel. He joins a great history of Bond sidekicks who do not end well.
Yeah.
Make a one film appearance.
I will bring up another
Good job by him, though.
first, I think, or possibly we've had one of these in the past, but you guys tell me if I'm wrong. But I believe we see some nip in this one. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
We've definitely had nip
in
in the
the barn
past. Are you
scene?
Really?
kidding me?
No, I wrote here. There's a gag where he has. There's this whole sequence we didn't mention where. Let me see if I remember.
There were several sequences
He
we
like
didn't
sneaks
mention.
into
This wasn't a short
someone's
movie.
office. I forget who, and like they send up something on a crane or whatever, like into the window. Do you remember?
That's when
And he
they're
cracks the
investigating
safe.
the lawyer in
Yeah.
in Switzerland. He's
In
like
that
this lawyer has
office-
a tie to Blofeld. And
There
that's
was a
when they find-
labyrinthine plot line of like a lawyer, which is how they got to the genealogist, which
Yeah.
honestly it was bizarre and hard to follow and really
Yes.
boring.
But he cracks
Agreed.
the safe, and he has to do it before the guy gets back to the office. But he does it, and on his way out, he grabs a Playboy magazine.
Oh,
right?
right. I remember that.
And he like you see him look, and you can see some nudity in the.
So you're
Playboy
talking about a
magazine.
nip in a Playboy magazine?
No,
We've
there's
seen
more, there's more.
I was going to
There's
say
2
we've seen
times.
we've seen nips in 2 title sequences, by the way.
Title sequences don't count. They're
Well,
silhouette nipples. That's not the same.
I'm just saying.
Why
But didn't we
doesn't-
also
why don't
see
they
one?
count?
Didn't we also see one? No, I think there was pasties on that one. in
Oh,
the,
yeah, there was a
in
pasty.
the
This
yeah.
you see the girl Ruby, the Angel of Death girl, when he like goes to bed her, she like the sheet like or whatever comes down and you see her. And they didn't.
Are you sure that isn't when Irma Bunt is in her in her bed in her place, which I found very shocking. There's a scene where Bond basically is stooping one of these girls that's at this allergy clinic, and he's sneaking off to a room via this way of him breaking out of his room by thwarting the automatic electric doors. And they figure out about it, and this is when they capture him. He sneaks into her room for a little tryst, and he's like, "Oh, hey, baby, I'm here. Give you the big JB." You know what I'm saying? And he crawls into bed with her, and she turns around and she's not the hot young thing he was after, but she's this older matronly woman who is just her reaction is terrifying.
Let's do it, Bond.
Yeah, not what he was expecting.
I don't think she's interested in that.
Yeah, no, she definitely didn't seem DTF there.
Yeah, so let's talk about some other things. I mean, we did the whole plot pretty quick for us. It didn't take an hour and a half. I mean, what else is there?
Well,
the gadgets.
We got. There's not a lot.
I
of
think the
gadgets
fact
in
that
this.
there were bobsleds is just lit.
Yeah, I mean that makes up for any.
I like how the one
lack
looks
of
like it's like a
gadgets.
Texas Longhorns.
Can we talk
bus.
about the bizarre Q scene in this? Do you guys remember this? There's a
no.
scene. It's like the first scene in the movie after the cold open, where Q is explaining to M that the future is in miniaturization, and then he shows him some radioactive lint or something.
I wrote that lint.
And then that never comes in. Neither miniaturization or radioactive lint ever comes into play again.
Yep.
I feel like that's like they're like we're still paying for this guy to be in a scene, so
Yeah, exactly. Like they had him under contract, but
Yeah.
not in the script.
He's
And they were
basically
like,
writing
"Oh,
his own
shit."
scene at that point.
Exactly.
Here, Bond, some lint.
But
It's
yet they
radioactive.
had that cool safe cracking machine thing. They could have teased that at the beginning. It was just such a bizarre just thing to have.
To me, it's they paid that actor and they did not write him into the thing. They were like, "Oh, we're still paying this guy to like be in the movie." And like he's not in the script.
So what about the quips? Because I felt like this was where the Bond films really, I felt them starting to turn into what we'll get to know later on as like the cheesy quip fests. It was like just a little too self-aware, a little too corny. I mean, starting with the opening scene, but there's a scene where Bond kicks some guy's ass and throws him through some kind of trellis and says "gate crasher," which is a lame joke. But then he takes
what was that one when the guy?
But then he
falls
takes a
off
bite
the
of
side
caviar
the
and he's like, "Royal Beluga, north of the Caspian." It's like so cheesy and trying too hard. Like look how
I wrote
cultured
one-
I am.
Yeah, but Roger Moore can do that.
I wrote one, but I don't remember the
Roger Moore
context.
can do that.
Yeah.
But
I wrote he had lots of guts. So I guess someone get chopped up.
The
or
guy
something?
who fell into
yeah,
the snow machine.
Yeah, there's one of
There's
those
a machine that
skiers.
eats
Yeah.
the snow.
One of the
It's
skiers
like-
that's
and he
chasing him falls into a
it.
snowblower and gets mulched.
And do we see
That was
blood?
disturbing.
Oh yeah. Also,
Yeah,
we
that's
see a
right.
lot of
Blood
like
everywhere.
it shoots bright red snow all over the damn place. And he
That's
goes,
what's missing
"He's
from
got
these
lots of
Bond
guts."
films, like really gory deaths like that. And he
Right,
just
yeah.
makes like a funny quip about someone's brutal like.
I will say there was one innuendo there. Like there was one great exchange that I loved when Tracy is holding a gun on him and she goes, "What if I were to kill you for a thrill?" And he's like, "I could think of something more sociable."
That's
Oh,
pretty good.
Bond!
And then they boned.
Yeah.
What a great actor.
No. Don't you wish it was a great actor, Dillard?
I bet he ad libbed that.
No, he didn't. He didn't ad lib it at all.
I think we've like nailed a lot of the important things about this movie. Like,
What about like
clearly
the effects and some of the other like? What we always talk about the sets. Were there any sets that stuck out to you? Because all I can think of
The
is
compound, the allergy compound's pretty cool. But
the
it's
allergy
not-
compound was great until it exploded at the end, where it was a cardboard model and it
Yeah.
looked like a cardboard. Like we could make a cardboard model with stuff in your house right now that looked as good as that.
Do we know if Ken Adam was the production designer on this one? Something tells me he wasn't.
Because we didn't see any of those.
those
Hold on.
grandiose,
Yeah, we should
like,
look that
big
up because
sets.
Keep,
we're
uh,
used to we're
keep talking
spoiled
about
by
stuff.
him. He has been doing such a stellar
great.
job. It actually we had that theory earlier that maybe this was a little bit rushed or something.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's him, then this was definitely like I would buy into that even more because he, in general has done a phenomenal job with all these sets. There's the avalanche looked good, but that was only because they actually used actual avalanche footage. There were also, did you notice there were little touches of animation in some of the avalanche footage, and also like when that tram fell,
The gondola?
when the gondola fell, like they animated the cables so they like flopped all over the place,
No, I
which
didn't
was
notice
probably
that.
impressive at the time, but like when you look at it now, it's super cheesy.
The production designer was Sid Kane.
There you go.
Oh well, Sid Kane has been the production designer on a couple other ones too.
Really?
Because Ken
When
Adams
Ken
was
Adams not
Ken Adams was
available.
like, Ken Adams was also the art director on some of these, or Sid Kane. Actually, maybe Sid Kane was the art director on some. So this may be his first time as the production designer. Yeah, but this was the first movie that I was not wowed by really any of the sets
Yeah.
that much.
Well, that place was like as is. I think they like found some place up on a mountain, and they were like, "This is what we're gonna do."
Yeah, a lot of location
It's
shooting.
probably like a spa or something. Yeah. Well, I was going to say before that, we talked about this movie a lot, but I think more importantly than any of the like smaller facets of this movie is like it's sort of legacy, as we touched on in the beginning. George Lazenby being the only Bond to do a one and done sort of thing, and like why he didn't come back, and then more importantly that
Bond gets married.
like a lot of big plot points happen in this movie that they never try again. Bond gets married, his wife gets killed. Bond, it ends on a dour note.
Right.
Yet so much of it is stuff that they've just rehashed. Like it's still so many. I thought like one of the best things of a lot of Bond movies is the big finale. Which this was this was the first one where I was like a little fatigued by the henchman on henchman fight and the headquarters explosion and everything.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
It goes out with a
underwhelmed.
whimper.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
That last scene could have been powerful. I think if it.
I mean, they could have included her death into like one of the chase sequences, like
Right.
after she agrees to marry him.
Well,
and then they don't
did
get
you
to
guys
marry.
read that this was originally envisioned as the beginning of the cold open of the next James Bond movie? Was that they would
She was gonna
She
die?
was going to die,
And they were like,
and then
let's
they were
just
like,
film it.
let's get it, let's put it in
Yeah.
here.
Well, I think they never. It's not. They do kill his lovers, right? In other ones, but it's never
Oh,
the
yeah.
end of the movie.
His
Right.
lovers basically die.
Only this one has
all the
that.
time.
Only this one has him actually getting married because we do actually see the wedding, and only this one has the one and done actor.
And it is addressed once or twice, like in later movies where they make reference. There's one where
to the
he's
wife.
They
yeah,
do,
yeah.
yeah.
he's at a cemetery, right?
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think possibly is it the next movie? No, it's
And
not.
occasionally there's a line where it's like, something bad happened before. Basically like there's
They
an
hint at
exchange
it, yeah.
between him and in later movies there's an exchange between him and like a possible lover or whatever where they're like, what's your deal? In some way they ask what his deal is, and in some way he says something bad happened. And
my
it's always
past,
like
yeah.
really vague, but a reference to like his wife dying.
But also, did you guys? Let me just ask this to look at it a different way. Did you guys feel this romantic subplot at all? Did this make sense to you? Because I love Diana Rigg. I thought she was a great Bond girl, but I didn't get why she was
The one.
The one, and I felt like there was a lot of reasons why she had red flag all over her, So I kind of, even with the extreme situation of where and how he proposed, I wasn't buying it. I was not convinced.
I think she was great. I think they had a lack of on-screen chemistry, but not
I know who you blame for that.
yeah, but not a fault of her. And then I think the sequence in which we see the courtship is all montage with no dialogue.
Yeah, they didn't. I mean, I don't think
You
it's.
see
I
them
don't think
falling
it's-
in love, but it's all
I don't think
a
it's her
montage
fault.
edit of them walking around trying to look happy.
I don't think it's her fault, and I don't think it's particularly his fault. And I even think their chemistry when they first meet each other wasn't that bad, but they didn't sell it as like on a script level or in the
I think the
execution of it.
idea is that whenever they stress the love story with Bond, it's like only this woman can understand the assassin. Like it's the only woman who can understand his dark side or his downside or whatever is usually how they play it. And I think they did a little bit of that here, but not
enough.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, let's get into how we rank this movie. Where does
Doing our 00 scale.
where does it stand amongst the others?
Who wants to go first? I think Colin. We're not going to have much drama here, so let's hear it, Colin.
I do want to say before we get into this, like I want to institute a thing here. When we reach the end of an actor playing Bond, I think we should try to like rank, or at least like maybe our intern.
so far,
Yeah.
But we can't
I
do
think
it
Lazenby's
yet.
going to be number 2 so far.
We can't do it yet for Connery because obviously he comes
Yeah.
back.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But and then of course we can't really do it for Lazenby because we've done it already. This is it.
He is definitely number 2. I would say that.
He's last. Always last. Sorry.
Yeah, he is a big number 2.
He
All right.
ruins the movie.
Colin, 00 scale. Give it to us. What do you got?
I don't know, what's did you look at what like our highest and lowest was so far?
No, I didn't get a chance.
Just like
You guys trash From Russia with Love. I feel like you guys are.
I'm gonna give it like a 2.5 or a 3.
Wow.
I love
Double O,
bobsleds.
2.5 or 3.
I love bobsleds. I like some of the things that went on. Diana Rigg was amazing, but he just
ruined
really
it for you.
ruins it. And then the fact that there's like an hour long part of the movie that's literally really just one chase with like little short quips. Like
There's a lack of Moneypenny in this movie too, right?
yep, that's a problem.
That's a real problem.
Colin's giving it a soft 2.
No pun intended.
No, I intended all those puns.
No, Diana Rigg's good. the there's diversity in the women in the the allergy death camp or allergy clinic.
Allergy death.
That's wrong. That's not correct. It's not the correct terminology.
Oh,
So
man.
this is okay. So this is Christopher Nolan's favorite Bond movie. This is Steven Soderbergh's favorite Bond movie. This is many critics say this is their favorite Bond movie.
I think they're all full of shit.
Oh, the constant referencing earlier films, the breaking the fourth wall, the preposterous evil plot, the in over his head leading man. Like, have you ever seen the poster of this movie?
Yeah,
You
I looked
guys have
at
seen
it.
this,
I
right?
can.
It's hilarious.
Oh, I told you about watching the trailer. They
So
say the word
so-
different like 30 times.
But listen,
it's different. It's different.
yeah, like different is necessarily good. Yeah. So the poster is Lazenby casually ski jumping in a tuxedo with the Walther PPK in hand, and it looks like something from like the Our Man Flint, like the parody of the James Bond series. And Lazenby himself looks like a Mad
Oh,
Magazine
yeah.
version of Connery. It is
Yeah.
so ridiculous. That basically sums up
What
my
pose is that?
that sums up my feelings on this. This is a 003. And I think I'm being generous there. There's some interesting points, and it's a Bond movie, and it does a lot of the routine stuff okay. But this is a solid 003 for me. I feel like I'm being nice.
I'll give it.
The post.
Yeah, that's great. He's in a bobsled and Blofeld.
Telly Savalas in the bobsled just firing.
I'll give it points for not being like a retread of any of the older movies in the way that You Only Live Twice was kind of like a retread of Dr. No. I mean, there's really only 5 movies before this. Like, come on, guys. There's plenty of plots out there. They did a good job, at least trying to make this convoluted enough.
It's also long as hell.
It's too long. That was a big detractor for me. Too long. The action just goes on and on. I mean, I thought Bond was good. I would have liked to see him in more Bond movies. I think he would have fulfilled the legacy.
I think the cinematography was all right.
No, that's
for, like,
always,
some
that's
of the-
always
yeah.
solid. But I think Lazenby, I feel like, or Lazenby or Lazenby.
I think it's Lazenby. Yeah.
Lazenby. I think with a different director, a different script, a different opportunity, I could see how he might have been able to grow into it. But
Yeah, I'll admit that.
okay,
Even though he was like
so
the worst.
there's like some vague potential of him.
I mean,
being
he
better.
like
he had nowhere to go but up for you, Colin.
Yeah, pretty much.
he went nowhere. Like I don't think he did anything after.
Yeah, I
that.
read he
Yeah.
acted in Europe and he was in commercials before. I think he did
Yeah.
commercials again.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's probably the right place for him.
The last thing when I looked him up,
what's
the
your-
last photo of him on the internet was from like 2009 when he was doing like a Comic-Con.
Still handsome?
Well, you guys should definitely watch this documentary if you haven't seen it. It's called Becoming Bond. I have it up right here. It's on Hulu. And it's sort of done with reenactments, but also he's in it and he like tells his story. And, they have other actors playing him.
I also read he showed up at the premiere with long hair and a beard.
Right.
Which in 1969, for someone who
Pissed
doesn't
everyone
want
off.
to do the movie anymore, makes total sense, but also probably made them real mad.
That's exactly how you say I don't want to be James Bond anymore.
yeah, exactly.
Well, that's...
That still might be true.
So the documentary kind of makes it sound like he thought he was like hot shit. He was like too cool for school. And, it all went to his head, basically. And when they said to him, like, hey, we want you to sign this contract for 7 more movies, which is kind of insane. And they were going to give him, like,
that is insane.
$10 million
That's
or
basically
something.
the next,
He thought
15
he
to
was,
20 years
he
of
thought
life,
he was
yeah.
like, too good for it. Or, like, he felt almost entrapped by
It's
it.
like, well, I'd have
Yeah.
plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, I don't need this James Bond
Now
thing.
actors realize when Marvel says, hey, we want you on a 6-movie contract, they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
roll up that
Yeah.
Brinks truck, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
What's your 00 rating, Matt?
Well, you gave it a 3?
Yeah.
How are we ranking
He
this?
gave it a 2.5. He gave it a 002.5. I gave it a 003.
I gave it a 3 that's less.
Don't let us influence you. What did you have?
What did you have?
Turn your notes around.
I didn't even write it. I just do it off the cuff.
He's looking at pictures of Gal Gadot at the Oscars.
Yeah, what's up? That's my gal right there.
Oh, that's probably better than actually
No, that's
having
just
your notes open.
No, that's just the side of the IMDb.
I'll give it a 3 also. A
Way
triple,
to cave to peer pressure.
0.
All right,
7.
so I think it's fair to say license to watch revoked.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't try.
Yeah, I would skip this one. And you know what? As a kid, I did skip this one. This is my first time seeing this.
Mine too.
Yep.
I did not skip it as a kid.
I used to choose them like the boxes, like VHS box and Blockbuster Video. And for whatever reason, On Her Majesty's Secret Service just sounds like the title is not
It's a
good.
terrible title. Oh,
Yeah.
we didn't even mention that it's a shitty title.
That's right,
It's
yeah.
This is not a great
Like
Bond
live,
movie.
live and let die. That sounds
That's
awesome.
a good Bond.
Moonraker.
That's a good
I'm gonna
Bond
rent
title.
that.
Yeah. I don't even know what Moonraker is, but it sounds awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, Blockbuster Video. It doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, all right. Well, any closing shots? Any parting shots here, Matt?
Let's see. I might possibly have something not written down. All I have here is it just says, thanks for listening. If you like the show, please rate us 5 stars on iTunes. Give us a shout out on social media. Please subscribe. Get your friends to subscribe and help us spread the word of Bond. That's pretty much it.
I like the scriptedness there. I think that's a good way to open and close.
Yeah.
Just random chaos in the middle, but at least we've got some structure now. Nicely done.
Yeah, thank you.
Loving the new format. I think this is good.
Yeah. Well,
The new format was a lot like the old format.
yeah, it was similar.
Yeah, but it was, I think, shorter.
Yeah. What are we at? Perfect.
Nailed it.
We did it.
All right. Until next time.
All right,
Bond
next time
will
we'll
return
do
in Diamonds Are Forever.
Forever.